Hello Tamers, Cydra back in Dame, and well, it's been a while since I've been in the middle of a move for a good part of this month. And well, we're already getting close to Christmas, and I might as well think it's high time that I did my coverage of ST22, Advanced Deck Set, Amethyst Mandala. And before we crack into it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this around to help with the algorithm. And without further ado, let's crack into it. And then going into the boxing itself, as you already could see, setup's been changed a little bit, and sound quality, since I'm doing this in the new house. And aside from that, they're also working with this knife instead of the usual knife, since I forgot to bring that down with me with the current batch. Without further ado, let's get into it. Getting rid of the safety tape on top with less, with more precision this time as we get into the contents. Well, as usual, with how it is with these advanced sets, get the deck and then theme sleeves. In the case of the Sakuyamon one, we have the sleeves being themed around the blue card. And then from there, we also have the mat and pseudo starter guide as one, which has Sakuyamon one half and Renamon on the other half, with the back being pretty much the normal how-to for beginners and returning players. Already taking a look at the blue card theme sleeves, which look pretty good in person. And without further ado, let's take a look at the structure deck itself. Starting off with the egg. Focus. As we end up running a full playset of the new Digimon egg, which ends up being a whole lot of new gas for this deck, since the Herod is a your turn once return, that whenever this deck sees an after card with the Onmyo-jutsu or plug-in trait, it allows this Digimon to evolve into a Cubimon, Talmon, or Sakuyamon in name from hand, reducing the evolution cost by 3, thus allowing you to tempo out your line quite quickly in this deck now. And then following that up, we also have 2 copies of the new ST22 Renamon, who comes with the new keyword of one moving, as well as on play, both of which are a trash 1 card to return 1 option card with the Onmyo-jutsu or plug-in trait from trash back to hand, as well as granting the stack barrier. With this definitely being, honestly, a 2 of for the deck, as it grants some useful synergies. And following that up, for new stuff, you also have the new ST22 Cubimon at full playset already, with also having a one moving keyword alongside its one digivolving effect. That being a top 3 search, allowing you to add 1 Renamon, Cubimon, Talmon, or Sakuyamon, or Rika in name, or or 1 Onmyo-jutsu or plug-in trait from among the reeled, and then you bot deck the rest. And then following that up, we also get a full playset of the new ST22 Talmon, who's on play on Digivolve, allows you until the end of your opponent's turn, when their Digimon can't activate their 1 Digivolving effects, as well as hitting them with minus 3000 DP. In addition, when attacking, you're able to use one option with the Onmyu Jutsu or plug-in trait from hand, or from under your own tamers without paying the cost, which will come into play later. As well, it also grants a end of attack inherit that allows you to trash the top card of your own security to then allow one of your Sakuyamons in name to unsuspend, thus playing into more aggro into this deck. And then we've come to the key card in this, well, the main key card of this deck being the new Sakuyamon Ace. And, well, so you can Digivolve for 3 off of any level 5 yellow generically, or can alternatively Digivolve off of a Sakuyamon main mode for a cost of 1. House also plays into the last Digivolve of the Ace, being a Lion Spy, with the on-play when Digivolving and when attacking once per turn effect, allows you to play out a Pipe Fox token, that being a 6000 DP yellow Digimon with blocker, making it a fine alliance target once this hits field. And then you also get to use a option with the Onmyu Jutsu or plug-in trait from hand or under your tamers without paying cost, thus making use, well, being another instance of the Talmon effect. And then following that up, we also get 2 copies of the new Sakuyamon main mode from this deck as well, being able to Digivolve for 4 generically off of a level 5 yellow, or Sakuyamon for cost of 1, with the on-play 1 Digivolving effect to allow you to use 1 option card with Onmyu Jutsu or plug-in trait from hand without paying the cost. So again, once again, playing into the option slinging aspect of this deck, as well as having the all turns once per turn effect. Whenever this card sees the option being played, or your security stack or card from the security being removed, you have to place 1 opposing Digimon with the lowest DP as their bomb security card, then immediately burn their top security, thus allowing you to have a control option in this deck. Excuse me once again. Then, once again for new stuff, you also get 2 copies of the new ST22 Rika Nonaka, who ends up being, well, the main facilitator for the new aspects of, well, sliding in Onmyu Jutsu or plug-in trait cards underneath as a star main and on-play effect to allow you to practically cycle in those cards underneath her in order for her to draw 1 and gain 1, which, once again, would fuel your Sakuyamon and Talmon. And then you also have the Your Turns effect, that whenever one of your Digimon with the Renmon, Cubimon, Talmon, or Sakuyamon name attacks, you get to suspend her down, and then you get to use 1 Onmyu Jutsu or plug-in trait option with as high or lower a use cost as that Digimon's level from underneath herself. Thus, we then, well, segue into the new options we have. As first off, we cover the new plugin options that now have link effects. Thus, we have link options, well, the link effect itself now no longer being, well, a trait specific to the Abmon decks. You know, with this actually being quite useful for generic use, since as long as you have a tamer, you get to ignore their color requirements. As well, for plugin offensive plugin V, has a security effect, gets to delete 1 opposing Digimon with the lowest DP, and adds itself to hand. Once again, excuse me. Going over plugin V's main effect, you get to link this card to one of your Digimon without paying the cost. Then you get to delete one opposing Digimon with as much or less DP as one of your own Digimon, thus allowing you to pick one comparison target. And for its linked effect, it grants a end of turn, this Digimon may attack effect, as well on top of granting a plus 2000 DP for its link. And then next, we have High Speed Plugin H. For its security effect, until your turn ends, one opposing Digimon or the Tamers can't suspend. Then it gets added itself to hand with its main effect, allowing it to link to one of your Digimon without paying the cost. Then you get to hit one of your opposing Digimon or Tamers with the inability to suspend until the end of their turn, with its link effect, granting the Digimon jamming on top of its DP bonus. And, well, since I overlooked it prior to this, these plugins also have the ability to link from hand, since with the requirement of being a level 3 or higher Digimon, paying for 2 cost instead to link it, though you don't get the benefit of their main effect. And then following that up, we then get the new Onmyujutsu, being, the option that this set is named after, Sakuya's move, Amethyst Mandala, which ends up being a quite nifty card to work off of, since it also has a number of effects to work with. With the one effect, first off, it also has a effect that triggers, actually I'm construing this a lot unnecessarily, as the special text on top allows it to activate its security effect whenever this card gets removed from security by effect. Though security effect is referring to the blue box. Thus, that main effect being that it gets hit one opposing Digimon with minus 9000 DP for the turn. As since you notice 2 security rulings, one, the blue one is for whenever it's checked in security, while the pink one is a face-up instance. And before we go into that, let's go over its main effect. Since whenever it gets used, you get to draw 1, then it places itself as your bottom security. And then we go into what it does when it's face-up in security, with it granting a all turns whenever your Digimon with Renamon, Kibimon, Talmon, or Sakuyamon in name would ever leave the battle area, other than by battle, it's able to trash itself in order to prevent that Digimon from leaving, thus playing into its own extra text to allow it to trigger off its security effect, since it's, being removed by its own effect. Then we go into the new defense plugin F, following the usual text for them, with the security effect of AD Digivolve 2 on one opposing Digimon, and then adding itself to hand. With its main effect, allows it to link itself. Then, until the end of your opponent's turn, one of your Digimon gains reboot and extra plus 2000 DP, with its linking effect being that it grants the Digimon blocker. And then with that said, that's all the new structure deck stuff all the way. Now into the reprint section of the deck, as we get 2 copies of the old EX2 Renamon as the main searching for the deck, and then full playset of the BT17 Renamon for extra searching, full playset of BT19 Cubimon, allowing you to cheat out your Rikas. Full playset of BT17 Talmon to also play into the deck's option slinging. And then we get into some very stylized reprints. That being 2 copies of Talmon Ace from BT19 and 2 copies of EX8 Sakuyamon X Antibody to also play into the deck's very over aggro strategy. As from there, full playset of the BT19 Rika, 2 copies of Yell Scramble, 2 physical training, and that's it for the main deck itself, as we end up with keyword cards. As what we get left of this product is the new packing cards that come with it. In this case, 2 copies of the new Digimon for the Gaiamon deck, not the hypothetical Digimon, the Amon I mean, as this adds in another Dogach name to the deck to work with. And in addition, also has some nifty effects, since it has the raid, it's a raid body, with the when attacking one's return to allow itself to link with any Digimon with the social, Navi, or tool trait from hand or its own sources, reducing the link cost by 2. Thus allowing you to add in, be able to ramp really, as you're pretty much linking outside of other conditions. With the ability with the when linking ability, to bounce one opposing Digimon with 5,000 DP or lower to bot deck, thus being a nifty removal tool. Then from there, we also get 2 copies of a new Grand Gilmon for Vortex Warriors, being able to come onto the field for 3 costs, generically off of any level 4 green, and is a Fortitude body with Vortex, with the on play when digivolving and when attacking, with no once return clause. You just spend down 1 Digimon on the board, then grant itself a plus 3,000 DP for the turn. With a nifty inherent of when attacking, if there's no unsuspended Digimon on the opposing side, this Digimon with the Vortex Warrior trait gets to unsuspend, thus playing into Vortex Warrior's gameplay of suspending down opposing Digimon, since with Vortex in play, you effectively can trigger this, and then allow you to unsuspend to go for more aggro. And then for a surprise include, we get 2 copies of a new Barbamon, which ends up being quite surprising, albeit still a bit clunky for a Barbamon deck. Even its inclusion in 7 Great Demon Lords is a little bit finicky, since you don't really run any of the following traits in the deck that allows you to revive, with the only real use for it pretty much just being another 7 Great Demon Lord name, as well as it being able to come out on its own reduction on top of gates. And to end off the product listing right now, we also get 1 of each copy of token for the respective Digimon. Pipe Fox for Sakuyamon, and then Uka no Mitama for Sakuyamon X. And overall, since I've been a late coverage of this deck has pretty much this product is pretty much good for a budget meta. since with just 2 alone, you're actually looking at a pretty good deck you're working with. And that leads into the next part of this video, as I'll be going over a possible budget version of the deck. And now on to the deck list segment of this video. Overall, we're pretty much looking at a pretty good framework with just 2 copies of this product, considering that, well, most of it is going to be reprints of existing Sakuyamon stuff, with the new structure deck support definitely bringing in some new options for the deck. Though, before we get into it, I'd like to preface that because it's holidays and because of the card pool, I decided to spruce this up a little with some cards I've held in my collection, considering that they were reprinted in this set. So you'll probably be seeing a few alt arts amongst this lineup. And well, without further ado, let's go into the deck list. For the egg deck itself, obviously ends up being the full playset of the new Viximon, who ends up being a, main form of tempo in this deck, considering that whenever this deck sees a Onmyujutsu or plugin option being played, you're then able to allow the stack to digivolve, reducing the evolution costs by 3. This definitely allowing you to combo off to allow you to climb pretty fast in this deck. And following that up, now on to the rookie lineup, in which case it ends up being a 4-4-2 splits of EX2, BT17, and the new Structure Deck 22 Renamons, with EX2 and BT17 here being both searching Renamons for the deck, allowing you to grab something from the line, and a Rika, with BT17 here also expanding that by alternatively grabbing a play cost 2 or higher options instead of Rika. While ST22 here is more so a mid to late game piece for the deck, since you get to pitch away 1 card from hand in order to recycle a Onmyujutsu or plugin option from trash. As for inherits, EX2 grants a well-needed memory gain whenever the stack sees a play cost 2 or higher option being played, whereas BT17 hits imposing Digimon with security -1. While ST22 grants barrier for the deck, barrier to a stack, allowing your top end to have some protections, mostly with battle. And then next up is the champion lineup, which ends up being a 4-4 split between the old BT17 and BT19, Cubimon, and the new Structure Deck Cubimon, with BT19 here being your main tamer cheat, allowing you to cheat out Rikas as long as you aren't staying at 1 or more. And then new Structure Deck Cubimon here has the 1 moving and 1 digivolving for extra consistency, allowing you to grab out any of the line or Rika or a Onmyujutsu or plugin trait, though you only could grab 1 from that selection. Inherent-wise, this new QB grants barrier, while the older QB of the two ends up paying 1 opposing Digimon with -2000 DP in response to the stack seeing a play cost 2 or more being played out. And then climbing up the line is where we end up seeing a little bit of use depending on preference. In my case, I went a 3-3 split between BT17 Tau and the new Structure Deck Tau. and with some good reasoning. Although we do get the new gold bordered reprint of the Talmon Ace, I'd say I'm more adverse to running instances where I would stack an ace on top of an ace. Well, that aside, going over the two lineup, going with the older one first, BT17 being a barrier body, with the one digivolving effect to allow you to play out any yellow option from hand or any plugin, reducing its play cost by 2. Whereas the new structure deck tile has some more toolbox effects, with the on play on digivolving effect to hit one opposing Digimon with the inability to trigger their one digivolving effects, and also minus 3000 DP until the end of their turn, with a one attacking effect to allow you to use one Onmyujutsu or plugin option from hand or underneath one of your tamers without paying the cost. Thus, playing into how the deck works nowadays, albeit more restrictive, considering that specifically to those traits, unlike BT17, allowing you to just use a yellow option instead of specifically plugin. As for inherits, the older Tau grants, if it has Sakuyamon in name on attack, you're also able to option sling a yellow option or plugin, reducing the cost by 2. Whereas the new structure tactile has the end of attack, allows the Sakuyamon that it's under, the Sakuyamon stack, to unsuspend by burning away one of your own security. And we then make that use to then segue into the top end of the deck. Starting off with the main ace of the deck. That ends up being 3 copies of Sakuyamon Ace. Since, as already said, I was pretty adverse on having chances of an ace on top of an ace, as well as my decision to run 3 being more so how much consistency this deck runs, considering that we have, pretty much 4 instances of pretty deep digs, and then 5 if you count the usual staples. And that's rambling aside. Sakuyamon Ace here definitely can come down whenever on top of Tau, or because of how it also works, because of the optional text, can also blast Digivolve on top of a Sakuyamon main mode, which can also lead to some other connotations later down the line as we continue into the deck. And she is a alliance body with the on play, one digivolving and one attacking once return effect to play out a Pipe Fox token onto the board, then allows you to sling out a option with the Onmyujutsu or plugin trait from hand or underneath one of your tamers without paying the cost. With, the Pipe Fox token definitely allowing you to give options, since it ends up being a alliance target, or you can just make it as a blocker, given that it has blocker. Then following that up, it's 2 copies of the new Sakuyamon Maiden mode to also follow that up, who's also able to Digivolve over Sakuyamon, which ends up playing into any idea concerning the alternate text, since you could pretty much cycle between both forms, as that allows you to. Granted, you're playing budget with just 2 structure decks, you may have to think on when you want to use that option line. And that's my rambling done again. As we go cover main mode in its instance of this deck. Since on play 1 Digivolve, she's able to allow you to use one option with the Onmijutsu or plug and trade from hand underneath the Tamer without paying costs as well. With the Alternates effect, whenever she sees you play an option or whenever the security set gets removed, she gets to place one opposing Digimon with the lowest DP at the bottom of their security, as well as burn one security, thus giving some protective options as well as some counterplay, considering that defensively, this Sakuyamon can effectively bot security one opposing Digimon, as well as burn away one security in response. Or on the more, I'd say, offensiveness side, allows you to sling another option due to her one Digivolving effect off of Sakuyamon. And then lastly, to round off the deck's top end, it's 2 copies of Sakuyamon X Antibody that also got the gold border reprint in this state. And well, she can come down for also a cost of 4 on top of your low 5s, in addition with the alternate evolution cost of 1 over a level 6 Sakuyamon name without the X Antibody, though between your 2 options, Sakuyamon regular is definitely your main way to go, since the one Digivolving effect allows you to play out the Uka no Mitama token and, well, as soon as you go into her. With Sakuyamon X being your main high-end aggro plays, since whenever she sees an option, whenever one of your Digimon attacks, you then get to play out a single color option of 5 or less, and then if you do end up playing an option through this effect, you then get to allow any one of your Digimon to unsuspend, thus allowing it to do multi-attacks, as well as doing a whole lot of option slinging, which is what this deck likes to do. And that's the Digimon lineup aside. Excuse me again. As we go into Tamers, which case, for how this would go, definitely looking at a 4-2 split between BT19 Rika and then Structure Jack 22 Rika. Though between them, your more important one is definitely going to be BT19, considering that on play she is another searching option for this deck, being able to search any of the Sakuyamon line as well as a plugin searcher as well. With the Your Turn's effect to suspend herself down whenever she sees an option play cost of 2 or more being played, allowing to refund back 1 memory. Whereas the new Rika ends up being a form of, your plugin and Onmijutsu holder, pretty much. Since Starmain and on play, she allows you to place any of that specified trait underneath herself to then get draw 1 and gain 1. And mind you, this can also play into a way to steal turn from the opponent. And then that side, she also has the Your Turn's effect to then suspend herself down in response to your Sakuyamon line Digimon attacking, to then play out use any of the options underneath her, barring that the cost is equal or less than that attacking Digimon's level, thus giving you another form of play as well, since you will get to play them out for free and then chain effects accordingly. And then following that up is the option lineup. And starting off with the deck's main spice really, ends up being a 2-2-3 split between High Speed Plugin H, Offense Plugin V, and Amethyst Mandala, with this line definitely being a little bit more of up to preference. Since with this lineup, since I dropped the defensive plugin for these two instead, I went the more aggro route, considering that their link effects are more attuned for that. Well, before going to that, main effects obviously allows them, both of them are able to be played out as long as you have Tamer on board, with nifty security effects to also help kneecap the opponent. Plugin H allowing you to prevent one opposing Digimon or Tamer from suspending. And then Plugin V allows you to delete opposing Digimon with the lowest DP on the opposing side, both being able to add to hand, and then allowing you to then trigger their main effects from hand, allowing you to play them out, linking with one of your own Digimon to then Plugin H's effect, also prevent a suspension until the end of the opponent's turn, and then Plugin V allowing you to delete one opposing Digimon with as much or less DP as the Digimon you link this card to. With Plugin H allowing you to jam, granting jamming as its linked effect, whereas Plugin V is a end of turn may attack effect. Then that side, the 3 copies of Amethyst Mandala, definitely being in here for the deck's main toolbox, considering that it can sling it from hand or underneath your Rikas if you want to pitch it for her draw and memory gain. With Amethyst Mandala, pretty much being quite useful in the deck, considering, once again, it can trigger its security effect whenever it's trashed from security through effect, with its main effect being a draw 1 and setting itself into security, with a face-up security effect of pretty much protecting your Sakuyamon line whenever they would, be attempting to leave the field, thus triggering its own when trashed from security effect by effect, allowing you to then kneecap opposing board with a minus 9,000 DP until the end of their turn. And that's it for my look at the deck. Jumping the gun a bit, as rounding out the options are pretty much the staples of the deck, and ends up being your other consistency pieces, with physical training, or being the dead horse, with how much of a staple it is, being a dig 2, and grabbing any yellow card amongst them, with the delay to reduce a evolution by 2, and then yellow scramble, being able to ramp up your climb by reducing it by 3, and then delay to allow you to recur a piece back to the top of the deck before your draw, as long as the opponent has a Digimon. And then if you're sitting on an empty board, allows you to revive a 2000 DP or less Digimon from trash, with the security effect also allowing you to play out a 2000 DP Digimon from trash as well, and then adding itself to hand. And overall, that's pretty much my take on deck list using just the 2 copies of Amethyst Mandala. Since, I'd like to preface this once again. The deck already has all the framework for the existing strategies that the Sakuyamon deck already has gained throughout. When the new structure deck stuff definitely adding a little bit more of a new identity, considering that, the deck, one card that isn't reprinted in this deck is the limited Sakuyamon from BT19, which would be one of the cards I'd recommend adding into the deck, since it is pretty powerful in itself again. But yeah, that has been my look at ST22 Amethyst Mandala for the Digimon TCG. And we close out. Before we close out, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this around to help with the algorithm. As well, don't forget to also hype the video to also help. And with that, this is Cyberjaw signing off.